Welcome back to That Talking Thing. I'm Kim.
I'm Jason,
This is episode 4, season 2.
and we have some life topics, family topics. And let's get into the first one. I noticed a tweet of yours that said something like, life is a video game, not a movie. And it had a cool visual of someone leaning back. Was it like a graphic? Someone leaning back, watching a movie passively. And then like life is a video game, like they were leaning in with their controller and they felt in control. And so, and you were like, yes, like this is it. And I feel that way too. Like that
Yeah,
it's kind of,
that's something really
it's a good way to
similar
think
about
of it.
us. You used to always talk about how you didn't want to implant stories on our kids and give them a narrative to say, like, well, I suck at sport.
Right.
I'm not even going to try. So if you implant these stories in your head,
Like
then
label them. They would attach to the labels.
you're living a
Sure.
movie and you have a script and your movie is playing out and you'll never level up or
Yeah.
venture out or jump
Yeah.
for the mystery box or try these things that are I like the analogy.
Yeah. I think of like one of the things in my life is that I feel like I have control over it. I don't feel like a victim of things. I feel very empowered in almost anything in life. If I really wanted it, I think of like a system of like, okay, what do I really want? What do I need to get there? And I actively like pursue things. And somehow those are values that were instilled in me, and you have the same values, and that's why we get along. And that's something I wanted to get into my kids. And some people say like, you don't want to be an NPC. You want to be like a player character, not an
Like
NPC.
Free Guy, I think I tagged the
Yeah.
Free Guy movie because if you haven't seen that movie, Ryan Reynolds is a character that is actually a
He is like
NPC,
an AI NPC in a video.
non-player
Yeah.
character
Yeah.
in a movie, and he realizes that he's living a video game, not a movie, a video game.
Hmm.
He realizes and becomes sentient as an NPC and starts to
Yeah. Like he's
affect
allowed
the
to.
game like a player of
Yeah.
the game, which is cool.
Yeah.
It kind of shows that you can break through. If your narrative is living in a script in a movie,
It was a good message. And
good message.
I struggle with NPC type people because they complain about life and their situation. And I'm a problem solver. Sometimes you just got to be an ear, but sometimes you want to be like, here, well, you can fix that here, and there's a way to do it if you really wanted to, but they don't really want to fix it, just want to complain about it. And so it's frustrating when you meet people who aren't approaching life the same way as you.
I feel like you pull from me also. You pull me to say, what's your goal? What do you want? Because you need
Yeah.
me to motivate certain things that you're doing, or you want
Mm.
to drive us toward the goal that's shared between us. You say, like, how can I help you get to the end of your video game, Kim?
Right.
What does that look like? You try to pull that out. I mean, I don't always have
I,
a great answer for that.
yeah, I know. It's tough. Where if I think what's happening there is these moments I notice that we're on the treadmill of life. We wake up in the morning and whatever our email and Slack tells us is important, you just sit down and you start solving it. Because we're problem solvers. Like, there's a problem, I'll solve it. Okay, let's go. And sometimes you need to step back and be like, whoa, why am I doing that all the time? Is this really what I want to do with my life? Or, I think of specifically with work, it's like we're working really hard and we're pushing. And I need to know like the why, because I need something to motivate me to push so hard because I feel like it's kind of okay. you know? Um, so I,
Don't you want to be more like living the movie life, the laid
uh,
back, passive? No.
there is something sometimes, but no, I'm not saying that. But this is like, we're mixed up all our analogies. Sometimes folks say like, life is a movie and you're the main character. That you're the main character
Mm,
component is a different phrasing that's not related to this. Where
yes.
I relate to that, or I like that notion of, if you imagine yourself as the main character in the movie, you are the one that gets the job. You are the one that becomes the leader. You are the one that gets what you want. You're not just playing second fiddle to something else. So if you if you sometimes people have problems focusing on themselves, and being selfish or being optimistic about their own lives and stuff, and being like, hey, this is your life, is your movie and you're the main character, make sure it's good for you, or you should be crucial and central to it. Yeah, another movie analogy.
If my life was a video game, it would be like kayak simulator.
That's a good one.
Well, people play, is
So,
Animal Crossing like farming?
Animal
There's, like,
Crossing. Oh,
gardening.
yeah, there's gardening and
Is there
stuff.
another one
Yeah.
that has gardening, like
Uh,
turnips? What
yes.
am I thinking of?
Moon, something Moon, or yeah, there's a bunch of
There's
those.
a
I
bunch of
forget
those.
those what they're called. Isaac would know.
That's what I would be. Something like or Wordle. We
Harvest
can
Moon
be
was an
Wordle.
old one. There's a
Harvest
new
Moon.
one.
I'm
I
crossing
smash
my
on my
arms
iPad.
because you are.
Okay. Hmm.
It is
It's
getting cold
cold.
in here.
That's what it's cold in the office.
Nice.
All right, next topic. Um, our daughter was getting into sewing. Was she making a mask of some sort, like an
Her
animal
birthday was
mask?
coming.
So she was looking online how to make an animal mask, and she got into like cosplay stuff, then got into like furry content on YouTube and the internet. And she came back and asked us like, "Dad, what's a furry?" And we're like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're gonna tell our 10-year-old daughter what a furry is." And what do we tell her? It's people who like to dress up like animals, and there is, like a kinky sexual connotation to a lot of that stuff, and I know that the furry community will fight back against that and say it's not all about sex, but some of it is, so you're like, if your kid's searching the internet for furry, they're gonna get into the darker areas of the internet, and so we need to protect her from that, but I guess we had that interaction that a couple days later I saw on Reddit, and I shared, I was like, "We're not the only ones that are," someone else was like the same exact story. My daughter's 10 years old, she was sewing and asked me about furries, and there's good feedback. I think I we always lean towards explaining maybe too much or like giving them. I sometimes say it this way: I'd rather my kids be like the kid who's too young to know about like sex and drugs and things, rather than the kid who's too old and is supposed to know about it already. Or in that Reddit thread, someone said, if you don't teach your kids about furries, like a stranger on the internet is going to teach them about it. So you might as well, get in. I don't know your thoughts on that.
Well, our kids are both right now going through our daughter specifically, a lot of curiosity about sexuality,
Mm,
about orientation.
yeah,
It started at the turn of this year, I think,
yeah,
more so. My sister is gay. She was home visiting for Christmas with her wife.
yeah,
And after that time, Marin was really curious with asking other people in our family, what is your sexuality? What is your orientation?
yeah,
And I think it's part of her cataloging nature and her structure organizing nature.
yeah.
Um,
She was fascinated by all the flags.
yep.
And then we had a good discussion about like why are there kind of like pride flags for different identities and where that came from and the reason to, have something that people can gather around. And then also like some of the commercialization of the pride. She's like, there's 50 flags. Why are there so many? And you're like, and I was like, I'm not in tune with some of the more
Yeah.
obscure identities on the list. And I was like, I'm not really sure like
What all these
people
are.
like
Yeah.
that flag. Someone maybe made it and tried to sell it, but it's yeah, it's out there. I think it's a good thing that it's more public and then you open these discussions.
Right.
And this is the age of kids trying to figure out who they are, and they're like, this is one aspect of figuring out who you are. So they're talking about it and engaging with it.
We've always said um, we we want them to be aware of what's possible and the options available to them and to not
Mm,
feel boxed in. But in some ways, by asking all of us what our sexuality is, she's trying to box us all in and get us to
mm,
decide. So I'm trying to nurture for her that it's a ever changing and a fluid thing. And it's not something that everyone feels securely 100% defining.
yeah,
So it's difficult because she is asking friends and family
yeah,
what they identify as. And I want to remind her that she might feel firmly in her decision, other people might not. So it's difficult for kids, and like Isaac's counselor has said, it's between ages 12 to 19 that kids are
mm.
kind of fluidly exploring and defining their self.
I know
There's it's a lot of
one of the
time.
messages I tried to get across to Isaac and now Marin too is like you don't have to figure that stuff out. Like you don't have to know what you're going to do for a living when you get older, and it can change. You don't have to know, whether you're going to want to kiss boys or girls yet. Let it
Right.
go. Um, and but yeah, like so we don't want to put people in box. But yeah, but Marin is it's kind of like
Do you feel
that's
that
how
in the
she's
back of
approaching
your
it.
mind there's I think this. I think that the more we tell our kids, the more that they'll be the ones telling other kids. And we have to know these parents that they interact with. We have to know the other parents.
Yeah,
Our daughter's in a mixed grade classroom of 4th through 7th, 8th graders, but she is in 4th grade. So primarily the people she's interacting with, she is the youngest,
hmm,
but she's bringing topics to school that we've talked to her about because
yeah,
this is how we're choosing to educate and parent our children, which isn't a wrong way. But
right,
the challenge is that when you explain something to your kid, you don't want to always say, like, don't tell other kids this. Their parents might not think that that's safe because then they question, why are you telling me unsafe things? Or why are you choosing this?
Uh,
Which, when they were young, that was, we didn't send Lunchables to school because we thought, I can make Lunchables, right? Like,
yeah.
and then she said, well, other kids get to eat Lunchables. I told them my mommy thinks they're bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah. Well,
it's hard to parent when there's a village of other parents
yeah.
coming at you with flaming
Worrying about that. Oh, you
sticks.
think are they going to? I think the teachers feel like we deal with this and we get it. And it's interesting, like the sexuality topics, it's like be open and talk about, but at the same time, it's like part of that question is who you like to have sex with, and you should be talking about sex, period, at school. It's a place of education.
Right.
And so, yeah. Hmm.
This is only the start also. So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
10 and 13. This is
Or
the start of things that we'll be talking about.
I feel like our version of this was like, are you goth or not? Like we felt like there was like 5 cliques at school and you had to pick one. Like freshman year,
Jock,
it's like,
nerd,
yeah, are you the jock, the nerd, the goth, or the, whatever,
band geek.
band geek, cheerleader? Yeah, it's like even at that level, forcing you to pick a side,
Yep.
and especially online, they're forcing you to pick a side.
Do you feel that way as an
Crazy
adult?
kids are. I feel that way as an adult, being forced to pick sides. Yeah, there's like this left, right, blue, red thing, and definitely like the media and online stuff
It doesn't stop.
is, yeah, no,
Even in WordPress, there's like the old WordPress people and the
right.
new, fresh, young people.
Oh, no, I don't. Oh, is that a case of it? I feel left out. Just like I'm an old guy.
You could be in my old
I see
WordPress people
the
club.
new development. It's all JavaScript, and you're
Yes.
like, oh, we did it a different way, and
Yeah.
I'm being left behind. It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, so much. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there are these forces trying to put people in boxes and split people up and stuff. So it's kind of like there's a downside to that, being. I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to bring up the last family topic, which only showed up in my text today from my friend. A book that she's reading called 14 Talks by Age 14.
Yeah.
And it's by
Shelley.
Shelley Card.
Yeah.
And the premise of the book is that there are 14 topical
So much
conversations
content for the podcast once a week. No, what's it?
that are important to have started with your children by the time they're 14. And that is because you want to be the person that gives them their first introduction to these things. You don't want them to be naive and walk into
Right.
conversations when they're 15 plus. And how can you slowly start having uncomfortable, important conversations with your kids so that they can accumulate all of that knowledge by the time that they leave your house? So
Yeah.
starting by the time they're 14, revisiting these difficult conversations until they turn 18 and
Yeah.
whatever their adulthood looks like. If it's college, if it's a trade, if it's directly into the workforce, if it's entrepreneurship, wherever they end up,
I like
their first taste was through you.
I like that by 14. I've said this before that when Isaac was around 9 years old, I thought I had 9 more years to kind of download my brain into him or my values and talk to him about things. And I realized, oh, I actually only have 4 or 5 more years because somewhere around 13, your kids stop listening to you. So you kind of have to get, you, you have to have those talks before they're 13 because,
When they're still like, Dad's my
yeah.
hero.
And hopefully you did a good enough job giving them the tools and the experience and the values that they start living out and making those decisions and do they carry on, but they're going to be their own little people.
For better or for worse,
Yeah.
till death do
Yeah.
we part. One interesting piece that book brought up was when your kids
Yeah.
start
Tell me
to
about
have a
this.
cell phone, making sure that there's an aunt, an uncle, a friend who's an adult, that they have their number in their phone.
Hmm.
It's not your parents. If you ever want to call or text about something that you don't feel yet talking to your parents about, or you just want another person who's an adult's perspective, or worst case
Yeah.
scenario, you are in an emergency situation, can't
Right.
reach your parents or don't want to reach your parents. You know that there is this responsible adult your parents trust, you should trust to be there for you.
I always thought I could be this person for some like Michaela,
Mhm.
my niece or something, but it never worked out. I would kind of, hey, if you want to come to me, we can talk and I won't tell your parents. It never works. No, I don't
There
know if
must
they
be
don't
something
believe
needed
me
in
or
how you nurture it.
I'm not close enough to enough teenagers to feel bad. There's been I feel like a couple times I was like, I could be the uncle you talk.
But along with that, they
Anyway.
also recommended that you and your kids pick some password
Mhm.
that if your kids text you this word, you immediately know to go find them and help them. And
Yeah.
they don't have to explain where they are.
There's a situation someone's trying to get them to smoke and they don't want to, but they don't wanna seem, like, uncool. They need, like isn't there a similar thing if you're on a date and you need a friend to kinda, like, give you an excuse to get out of
Perfect.
the
Yeah.
date?
Having a code
Yeah,
word that you can text someone.
yeah. If you're, like, on the phone with them, you
Right.
say something, "How's the date going?"
Right.
It's going password, and then that's for them to
Yeah.
be like, "Oh,
To know.
actually, I need you
Then
to
you're like,
leave right
what?
now." Yeah.
No.
So our kids need that? Yeah.
Maybe, or just text like a short enough word that's unique enough that if you're at a party, everyone's doing drugs and you're hiding in someone's bathroom or
Hmm.
closet, you don't have time to
Right,
explain a whole lot. But
right.
you want a single short word or
What's a good
phrase
word?
to I thought like orangutan.
Orangutan. Yeah, word that isn't used.
Yes. Why would you otherwise use this word?
Bamboozle. But does it have to be something that could plausibly come up casually? So they say it if they
You
have
and
to
your son are
verbalize
so
it.
I tried to talk to Isaac about this today and he was like nitpicking it. He wanted to like and he was
Oh, I didn't
nitpicking the scenarios because I was
do you
coming
say
up with scenarios and he said, well, I'll never. I was like, what
I
if
don't
you
know.
got a tattoo and you're really embarrassed and it's on your head and you I'll never get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Then it finally arrived at what if you crapped your pants at school?
Yes.
And then he was like,
That's
oh,
awesome. That could
okay, that
happen.
could happen.
Yeah.
But he didn't picture himself hiding in a closet while everyone was doing meth or
Okay.
anything worse. Thank goodness, but
Yeah. I guess I gotta read the book and then we'll have it all
sounds like
better.
a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree in theory about giving kids a way to
Do you have any stories about being
shortcut.
too scared to tell your parents something that if you only had a word, you could have been rescued
Hmm.
without the fear of also saying, like, you're in an embarrassing situation.
Yeah.
I crapped in my pants at school. Writing that is like debilitating. Like, you can almost not
Yeah.
tell someone that happened,
Yeah.
but you can write a word and know that that conveys to them. I don't feel comfortable explaining my situation right now, but I
Mhm.
need you. Never.
I don't think so. I think I was trying to, like, handle things myself. I wasn't really like a
Hopefully that's downloaded into our
reach out
kids,
to my
that
parents kind of
skill.
guy. Yeah. But, I mean, maybe there would have been situations that would have been better. I don't know.
I don't think I've
Or
had one.
did you have, like, was your aunt cool? Like, so you could talk to her?
I didn't have another adult that I
Yeah.
felt comfortable close with.
Mhm. We should come with these stories because I'm finding it's working a bit that don't kinda tell your kid what to do. Tell them a story of you from your childhood and then e exhibiting the behavior that you want them to have, or say, "I was in the same situation," or,
Yeah.
Mary's having trouble, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've been in that situation too. It was kinda like this." And then that gets her to kinda lean in and start talking instead of, like, just telling her, like, "Don't let that bother you. Here's why."
Right.
Yeah. So I need to find these stories so I can tell Isaac
And
and Mary
it
about 'em.
backs up your
That's
advice.
why
So you're not giving
yeah.
advice only. You're giving a shared story and a path that worked.
Right.
Good. Thank you. Good talks.
Yeah, I gotta think of that.
Thanks
Alright,
everyone. That
thank you.
was episode 4, season 2 of That Talking Thing. Catch you next time.
Catch you next time.